Okay, hello. This is part two on the series on why Africa is so poor. All right, so here we were talking a little bit about African history to get to know what Africa used to be, where Africa came from. So we had gotten up to this point where we are in South America, Mesoamerica, and we are realizing that the Olmec heads, the first civilization of Mesoamerica, were actually African faces, definitely African of African construct, and that these large heads, the languages of Mali, were spoken in by the Olmec, and they also actually have Yoruba facial markings. So this is very easy to confirm or cross-check. With Google, you just look this information up. Now, because right now we are trying to get to know who Africans were before colonization, so we know exactly what happened, what could have happened. Were they these barbarians? Were they this dark continent? Or is it something different, some lost history that unless they recognize, they just remain depressed and people keep saying, oh, the black man is a dead man, the black man is condemned, the black man never did right. So knowing the power, the ability, knowing who the black man is and where he came from is essential. All right, so I was on a website that very important information on Africa. So just Google what's it called? When We Ruled, right? When We Ruled, Africa's Reign. Google When We Ruled by Robin Walker and read these. Now, when I went through this, I saw some things that were just amazing. The organization, what was this is from King Taraka again, Sudan, the Black Nubian great king of Sudan. That there was glass, that Mali were so rich that when the king of Mali traveled through Egypt, the economy of Egypt dropped because of the amount of gold he was carrying. And that was the time is it the United Nations put Mali on the map. And that's Timbuktu, Mali. And I'm reading all this stuff and I'm like, is it true? So I googled each piece. There are like 100 pieces here: metallurgy, glass, terracotta, just so many things. 6-story buildings in Africa, and I'm talking about like 1,000 years ago. I'm not talking about like 100, 200. And I Google each thing and I realize that all these things are true, but for some reason they are lost. History books don't teach them. I advise that African schools restructure their history books so that little kids learn and appreciate who they are and what they are and where they came from. This is a very important one. Let me talk about this one. This is Getty in Kenya, where the president of America, Obama, is from. Look at these beautiful structures. You have some like a mosque somewhere here, and you have beautiful. Can you see the architecture? How straight these lines are. This, for some reason, this little town, got abandoned, but it was so well developed in Kenya. Now, the thing about Africa, the reason why a lot of history is lost is when the colonialist came, the idea was Africans were barbarians. So when you see development, what do you have to do to justify what you're doing? You have to prove that that development doesn't exist. So it has to be destroyed. So when you're looking at African history, a lot of it is lost. Right here in Kenya too, this is amazing. These are some Israeli tourists. This is a sewage system. This is the period when the Europe was in what's called the Dark Ages. When they had the bubonic plague because they didn't used to take baths. And the Queen of England is, she was bragging and is like, I take a bath once a month even when I don't want it. King James, who wrote the Bible, is known to have been taking his bath like once a year. Now, that is another story about how colonization was so easy. They didn't just colonize. Colonization didn't just happen with the guns, but with disease, because the colonialists used to come with disease, and then they'll get rid of the whole populace with smallpox, infections, and that's why a lot of the populace died. But that's a separate story. But at this period, this type of sewage system, till now, if you look at houses in Britain, the bathrooms are like extensions on the buildings because they were not like a part of the building. This is very interesting. This is a very modern, ultra modern sewage system in Gedi in Kenya, and you can see these people. They are sitting on these slabs. This was built outside, so people used to sit here, drop their whatever in this, and this looks like water runs in here. So it was like a public toilet system, ultra modern for its time. We're talking of 13th century. And in here probably water flows and you wash your hand, But here's where I mean, this is amazing. Did you ever know that Africa had this kind of technology, this kind of idea, this kind of development prior to this part of they had taps, drainage systems. It's amazing. I cannot do justice to this. You have to look up what Africa was, what Africa used to be. Now, I have talked about construction. Apart from construction, there's another very important thing. Okay, if there was construction, if there were so many things, they had tiled streets, they had all that stuff in Africa, 6-story buildings, so much stuff, too much. What about development, organization? Because we have chaos nowadays, all right? There's chaos in Africa. Was there chaos? What kind of government did they have? If you study the history of Africa, they had lovely political systems, some democratic, and in the history before, there were no conflicts and wars like we have now. Of course, there's natural wars like the Zulu wars where a certain group, dominates to rule, but not massacres, not genocides of the proportion we have today. There was of development. You have Hannibal, who was an African, who almost overtook Rome, and when you see Hannibal, you see this queer-looking guy, half caste, like light skin, and they show him on Discovery Channel, and his dad is obviously black, but they kind of show Hannibal like, what kind of human being is this? Is he from Mars type of guy? Nah, Hannibal was a typical black man. So yes, we used to have those those kind of conquest wars, but there was organized societies. It was peaceful. People lived in peace in Africa, right? You had governments in place. You had organization. A very interesting part of our history I'm going to bring out from Nigeria is on the Benin Kingdom. It's a very great kingdom in Africa. Let me look for that on Nigerian Wiki. All right, right now I'm on this website. I get excited when I talk about this. Please bear with me. It's very, very important. And it is sad that people don't know a lot of this information. This is NigerianWiki.com, a website on Nigeria's history and information. And right here we are reading a book written by this is a book printed at Harvard University, and it's talking about when when colonists came to Benin City. And according to this testimony of one of the colonial masters, aka masters, Great Benin, where the king resides, is larger than Lisbon. All the streets run straight as far as the eyes can see. The houses are large, especially that of the king, which is richly decorated and has fine columns. The city is wealthy and industrious. It's so well governed that theft is unknown, and the people live in such security that they don't need to have doors on their houses. The king of Benin used to travel to Portugal. He could speak Portuguese up until the British invasion. This is British invasion under the Benin Kingdom. So this is the way it was. Government was intact. People were organized. They were trading with the West. If you read this is stuff, British invasion from Benin. If you said Benin Nigerian Wiki, you can read all this information. They were trading with the Western world. There was a lot of engagement up until what? Till you go back to Benin and you see that during the British invasion, when the Brits came, they found this organized society, and what did they do? They came during a festival. During the festival, they were told they couldn't get in, and when they sent some people in, the Benin people killed them, that this is a festival, no foreigners allowed, and the British had provoked them, and after provoking the kingdom, they sacked it because, of course, they came with their disease and their guns. They defeated the people of Benin Kingdom, and guess what they did to this beautiful kingdom? They burnt everything down to prove that these people are uncivilized, they are barbaric, they can't have this kind of development. They burnt everything. They burnt the beautiful Benin Kingdom down to the ground. We'll continue on part 3. Thanks for watching up to this point. This is very, very important. Good stuff.